Iran's warship has entered the Red Sea, heightening tensions in that region. According to reports, the Al-Borz warship entered the Red Sea via the Bab al-Mandab Strait, but the timing of its entry into the region is yet to be confirmed. The development comes a day after U.S. helicopters foiled an attack by Houthi militants on a container vessel and sunk 3 ships, while also killing 10 militants. On Sunday, the Iran-backed Houthi militants had triggered a firefight when they tried to board a Singapore-flagged Maersk vessel. U.S. officials say that helicopters from the USS Eisenhower and USS Gravely joined the container ship's security forces after getting a distress call. Iran has rejected all U.S. allegations of any involvement in these attacks on commercial vessels. But its presence in the Red Sea now raises concerns over an escalating war spillover. Just a month ago, the head of Iran's Navy, Shahram Irani, said the warship has been carrying out missions in the Red Sea. Since 2009, Iranian warships have been operating in the waters of the Red Sea, carrying out a variety of tasks, including securing the shipping routes and combating piracy. However, latest movement of the Iranian ship into the Red Sea follows weeks of attacks by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Since November, the Houthis have targeted multiple shipping vessels which they claim are Israel-affiliated. The Houthis claim their attacks across the Red Sea are in direct response to Israel's ongoing military operations in Gaza that have killed thousands and triggered an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in the war-torn enclave. Youssef Mauri is a journalist and is joining us live from Sana'a, Yemen. Youssef, thank you for making time for us and welcome.
It's good to be here.
Iran says its warship is there to secure shipping lanes. Youssef, how much of a game changer is this latest development?
I don't think it's much of a game changer. The only way it's going to be a big, dramatic game changer is if Iran uses this warship, this destroyer, to engage with the Ansar Allah, the Houthis, in joint military actions against this Western-backed coalition task force being led by the U.S. Of course, as we have witnessed yesterday, a U.S. Navy helicopter opened fire, exchanged fire with Ansar Allah, Yemeni Army Naval Forces, which led to the death of 10 Yemeni naval forces. And of course, this is something that has sparked outrage across Yemen. This is something that has resulted in massive protests that are scheduled to take place in just a couple of days, as Yemeni people are upset and they want retaliation for the blood that has been spilled because of these attacks from the U.S.
Youssef, the Houthi attacks are intensifying in the Red Sea, and the effectiveness of the Red Sea force is being questioned because critics say that it's only the U.S. which has sent its ship to safeguard the waters, and the members of the coalition have not. So, will the U.S. manage on its own, you think?
I think the U.S. has the military capability to be able to manage its own military actions in the Red Sea, and not just in the Red Sea, but throughout the Middle East. We can't forget that U.S. has over 900 military bases spread out worldwide. They have 400 of those military bases in the Arab and Islamic world. So they have the military capability, but they don't have the credibility. The U.S. has lost moral credibility across the board when it comes to Middle Eastern politics and Middle Eastern military affairs. Of course, we have the U.S. calling on countries like France, Germany, the U.K. government, and other Western nations, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, to join this coalition task force, not because the U.S. needs the military power of other nations, but because U.S. needs the credibility, or what remains of credibility, in its geopolitical ventures in the Middle East. Now, I can tell you that most of these countries like Saudi Arabia, they've already withdrawn. Countries like France, Australia, Italy, they've withdrawn from associating themselves with a U.S.-led coalition task force in the Red Sea because they realize that Yemen is has a very formidable, capable army that's able to deliver devastating blows, as we've seen with the Houthis, with the Ansar Allah army. They were able to weaken and delivered devastating blows to the Saudi economy by targeting its most precious jewel, which is the Aramco oil facilities and Aramco oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia. They were able to target them with sophisticated ballistic missile capability and unmanned drones, which countries like Saudi Arabia and the U.S. did not know the Yemeni army has possession of. And this is something that's worrying nations like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, from engaging in a military joint operation with the U.S. I can tell you that the main asset that Yemen has, that the Houthis have under their control, is access to the Red Sea, is access through Bab el-Mandeb, through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is one of the most strategic waterways in the entire world. In fact, 6.2 million barrels per day, they pass through Bab el-Mandeb. You know, this is oil and natural resources that pass through Bab el-Mandeb on a daily basis. So the Houthis, the Ansar Allah government, has mentioned that any nations that join the coalition backed by the U.S. will be blocked and will be prevented, and their ships will be targeted. However, the main thing we have to keep mind of is that the military operations by the Houthi Ansar Allah government is not targeting the international shipping lane. It's not targeting even U.S.-linked ships. The only ships that are being targeted in the Red Sea are those associated and doing business with the Israeli regime. Those are the only ships that are being targeted. So according to the Yemeni government, the shipping lane is not in danger of being hindered or impeded in any way, shape, or form unless there are ships that are doing and conducting business with the Israeli regime. Those ships will be blocked. No other ships will be prevented from access.
Youssef, we are out of time, but I have to ask you this question. You did mention protests, and countries like Djibouti have raised concerns that the war might spill over beyond the sea and into their countries. Are other countries in the Red Sea region sharing the same concerns? Briefly.
Well, I think so, because let's not, especially in Djibouti. Djibouti hosts perhaps, the biggest military bases for Western nations. And these Western nations, they use the military bases that they have installed in Djibouti to conduct and to continue their Western imperial hegemony over the world. They want Djibouti residents, the population, they realize that if a war was to ensue with Yemen, then Djibouti is going to be a military target. If the U.S. uses the military base that they have in Djibouti, if the UK uses its military base in Djibouti to conduct military operations in the Red Sea and to conduct military operations against Yemen. And that's a possibility if the war and the tensions escalate in the near future.
Youssef Mauri, thank you very much for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.